Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of my Sergio Leone director series. Technically, this is the first episode, since this is going to be the first episode talking about one of his films. And so today I am talking about 1964's A Fistful of Dollars, starring Clint Eastwood. This is a film I actually did not see for the first time until I was a teenager. I had grown up loving The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And in fact, I'm actually using some VHS tapes to prop up my phone. This is the exact Good, Bad, and the Ugly VHS set that I used to watch all the time when I was a kid. So, yes. And so I didn't end up seeing any of the other Dollars films until I was a teenager. And back then, they were very unrestored, really rough pieces of film, but I still watched them and I still liked them because at that time I didn't really know anything about high definition in terms of, we didn't have Blu-ray yet. We had DVD, which was as high def as we got. So it didn't really bug me at all. But so Fistful of Dollars is about a mysterious drifter that drifts into a town and he finds an opportunity to play the town's two rival gangs against each other. And it isn't just like a couple guys in one gang, a couple guys in the other. These guys control the town. One group basically controls half of it, and they have interest in what they do and what their operation is. And then there's other guys that have their own thing, and they're all kind of competing in this town against each other. So Clint Eastwood comes in, and he finds an opportunity to make some money and to start some hell, basically. And obviously, if you're watching this video, you've probably seen the film. But, it was Clint Eastwood's first big movie. And up until this point, he was only doing Rawhide and some television shows. And he may have done some TV, movie type things. I'm not sure 100%, but this was his first theatrical mainstream, if you can call it that, film. And, he pretty much made his own wardrobe. And it's just such a great entrance into the whole style of the spaghetti western. Now, Leone is definitely considered, the first guy to bring spaghetti westerns mainstream. You could ask some people, they say he started the whole thing. You ask other people, there was actually spaghetti westerns before him, and he just kind of blew it up and made it an art form, basically. Even though not a lot of critics at the time considered spaghetti westerns art forms. And so, everybody's really fresh. And Clint Eastwood's fresh. He hasn't even really refined his character, his persona that he has in his movies that he's known as. It's actually basically, Leone was inspired after seeing Yojimbo by Akira Kurosawa, which is essentially the same plot. And he basically remade Yojimbo as Fistful of Dollars. Now, there's some biographers that say he wasn't actually trying to remake it. He was just inspired by it. But let's just say it's similar enough to where Kurosawa and company there's some lawsuits that went on in regards to the making of this film and all that kind of stuff. And it's such a brilliant film. And to me, each of the Dollars films, and I'll talk about them in length, in each video, but what I like about this one is it's not my favorite one, but it's short, it's gritty, it has some humor, great action, and it's like the Clerks, I guess, like Kevin Smith's Clerks. I love Clerks, one of my favorite films. It's the Clerks of the franchise of has such a low budget. They were all new at what they were doing. And so it's just raw. And sometimes you're kind of like, what? When I say that, I mean, there's some parts of this movie where you could tell Clint Eastwood hasn't really found that character yet that he eventually will fine tune for a few dollars more and Good, Bad, and the Ugly. His character does some really interesting things in this movie in terms of his facial expressions. And there's one part where he walks up to a house and he's like, he's kind of talking to them, the gang. He's like, I'm here, I'm gonna get you. Well, you know, that kind of stuff. And it works in the film. It's just weird seeing it at first because he doesn't really do that kind of stuff in the later films. So you can see that they're still trying to get their ground. But the film is tight from beginning to end. It's, you know, there's parts of it that are edge of your seat. It's a fun film, and it's a great entrance into the Dollars trilogy. And there's, I'm going to talk about a couple things that I really, really loved about the movie. One, the score by Ennio Morricone, who was actually uncredited. Well, he had a fake name in the original release because America didn't want to see, people weren't used to seeing a bunch of Italians making movies and all that stuff, so they actually had like names that were American names. And so he didn't get the credit, his actual name as the credit in the original release of the film in the United States. Of course, now he's legendary. But the score is so in your face and adventurous and roaring and great and exhilarating. And it's, you know, that's what his scores do. But this one in particular is so fast paced and it gets the job done. Now, another thing I like about the movie is the sequence where Clint Eastwood walks up. It's the famous sequence when he's like, you know, give me 2 coffins ready. You know, he walks by the Undertaker. Then he goes and challenges one of the gangs and kills them. And he walks back and goes, sorry, make it 3. Or is it get me 3 coffins ready, make it 4? I think it's the second one that I said. But that kind of stuff, it's just so groundbreaking and so brilliant, and I love it. And one thing I love about this series and, you know, Leone's films in general, even though Clint Eastwood's the hero to us, you know, he's really no different than the guys that he's going up against. He's just has different motives, and that's who we're to root for. But he's a flawed hero, which is awesome because in Westerns up until this point, that really wasn't the case. Your heroes were great American guys full of, you know, cowboy and I'm going to rescue this farm. And that's a really weird thing to say, but he's flawed. He gets the crap beat out of him in this film. He's drenched in blood and all this stuff, but it's a great film. I'm looking forward to getting the new Kino Blu-ray of it eventually. I know it's a better transfer and all that kind of stuff. So, but this will tie me over for the time being. So that's the first episode in my Sergio Leone series. Well, technically the second episode. And so I'm not really reviewing these films as much as just talking about them, giving a quick synopsis of the plot, and just bragging about them, how much I love them. I'm not really out to review these movies and be an actual critic about them. Like I said, and like I've been doing on my channel since the beginning, I just want to share my love of film and the films that I love. And that's what I'm doing. So here you go. Fistful of dollars. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are interested, leave me questions down below. I'll be doing a Q&A maybe in about a week or two. We'll see. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.